warm welcome. I'm Esther Buerki, the author behind Living Without Fear and the co-publisher of the Amazon best-selling Inspired Journeys. If you're ready to embark on a journey of boundless possibilities, I'm here for you. And do you know someone who could benefit from today's episode? Share this podcast with them. Don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter, join me on YouTube, and if you enjoyed what you heard, leave a short review or rate it on your favorite podcast platform with a lot of stars. Your support means the world to me, and I'm truly grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you. And today, I'd like to talk about the relationship with my father and invite you at the same time to think about the relationship you had or you have with your father, or if this topic is too critical for you. You can always use another person who is in your life who triggers you a lot. It can be your boss, your child, your spouse, or a close friend. So, I'd like to speak about what happened to me. It has been a year since I have published my book, Living Without Fear. And if you know me, I have been so afraid of publishing it because I knew I needed to give it also to my father to read it. And I was so afraid that after he would have read the chapter about him and our difficult relationship, he would be so furious the way he used to be. And he would disinherit me right away. But something totally different happened. He gave me his memoirs to read, where he shares about his fears in life and even sexual abuse, a thing he had never mentioned before to anyone. Imagine my father, someone who always pretended to have everything under control, someone who always told me that I'm not good enough, I don't do enough, and who always knew better than me and anyone who came to visit our family. It wasn't fun at all to talk with him in the past. He gave me and everyone around him the impression that we are so small and ignorant compared to him. Him who was a math teacher and the headmaster of the high school. He believed that showing emotions was the weakest thing one could do. And I felt so bad as a child, or even as an adult, when I started crying while talking to him, or when I studied math with him as a child. My mother, brother, and I were afraid of my father's tantrums. And I remember my mother always said to my brother and me, "Don't upset your father. You know how awful the situation will turn out if you dare to do it." Do you get the picture of the father I experienced in all these years? And I'm so grateful I didn't stick to my fears of publishing my story, because I helped my father, soon turning 89, and myself to get to know someone else behind his authoritarian facade. In his memoirs, my father pictured someone who had felt so many fears in life. The fear of being a failure, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of experiencing new things, the fear of being made fun of him, the fear of taking the wrong decisions, the fear of not pleasing other people, the fear of not fulfilling others' expectations. The list could go on and on. Since I've read his memoirs, I needed to make a complete revision of the image I had of my father. And it is still an ongoing process because I've spent 59 years with this old picture I had from my father. And a year isn't enough to replace it. All the fears I have had in my life are also his fears. And I always believed that it has been my inability to become more successful in life or to get a better job position. But that has always been his fear, and he still thinks this way. He still isn't happy with what he accomplished in his life. And as I could figure out reading his memoirs, he still believes that he could have done better. He still isn't good enough in his eyes. How sad is this? At the end of his long life, he cannot feel how proud he is of himself, and that's why he can't say it while talking to his 2 children. Why am I telling you all this? You might have someone in your life who triggers you a lot. It can be a father figure or someone else. What I want you to do is to look behind the mask of this person. Can you imagine that there is maybe a lot of anxiety, feelings of not being good enough, not doing enough? Maybe you see this person, how he or she isn't able to take a rest, just be for a moment, but who is always doing something, always trying to prove others that they are the biggest, the greatest, the smartest person in the room. Just a small story about my dad. I remember when our family had guests on a Sunday afternoon, my father was sitting there in our living room, saying nothing, because he didn't like small talk. And if our guests were asking him a question or trying to start a conversation, he made them believe how ignorant they were to ask so silly questions. And he started his never-ending monologue about the topic the guests had chosen. I felt miserable and ashamed by my father. I would have never thought back then that this kind of behavior stems from his feelings of not being good enough. If he had had more self-confidence, he would have started the conversation with that person, and he would have tried to be pleasant with his guests, exchange his thoughts with them, and spending funny moments with them. By sticking to his monologue and proving others that he had a big knowledge, he made them feel small, and he could cover his insecurities. Do you know someone who cuts you out while talking and it makes you upset or it hurts you? It makes you feel small, unseen, or not understood? Try to look at this person with different eyes. Ask yourself, what is this person trying to hide? Maybe ask a question. I experienced in the past that many of these human beings don't want to go deeper because they don't want us to discover their fears. So they don't answer our questions. They prefer to keep up with their facade, but you can look at them with love and understanding. And what I also used to do in those situations, I recognize their hurt children in them. I recognize their anxiety of not being enough. And I don't ask any further questions, but I just listen to them. And I just try to be with them, see their beauty in them, and make them feel seen, heard, and understood. And that's what I've been doing with my father in the past month. I feel so blessed that I can discover him now differently, and we can heal together. There's no blame anymore, and that's what makes my life so precious. I think it's one of the biggest gifts I received, the gift of healing. Thanks to my book, Living Without Fear, I could heal my wounds, and my father could heal his. And together we can work on the generational trauma of not being good enough and trying to prove the world that we are worthy while struggling terribly. I'm immensely grateful. I could and can find a lot of inner peace every day. My biggest wish is that my father can get there too before he leaves this world. And maybe you'd like to find inner peace as well. Thank you, dear listener, for spending your precious time with me and being so open to learn how to look behind people's masks and see their beauty. I cannot repeat it enough. In case you feel worthless today and nobody seems to like you, I tell you, you're amazing. I love you. And you're a gift to everyone who crosses your path. And please remember these sentences over and over again. Have an amazing day and talk to you next week.